What is going on, guys? Predator458 here, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to some more World of Warships, where today we're going to be taking a look at a viewer replay submitted by Nigel1010. And Nigel1010 has been a very long time subscriber of mine, although he hasn't submitted too many replays in the past. I think this is only the second replay he's ever sent in. But as you can see, he is using his Tier 6 Chinese destroyer, the Anshan. And as you can see by the matchmaking, it has not been kind. Tirpitz on the enemy team, New Orleans, Otago, York, Myoko, and a whole bunch of Tier 7 destroyers. In fact, it looks like the only Tier 6 on the enemy team is the Cleveland, which is not really a good thing either. Now, unfortunately, because this is only available from the premium shop, and you can't buy it in-game, I wasn't able to go into the port and look at the stats, but I have gone onto a website and I have the stats in front of me, so I imagine they're correct, but maybe they're not. Anyway, as you can see on the screen, 14,400 hit points. He is armed with 130mm guns. Looks like there's 4 of them. They have a 180-degree turn time of 30 seconds, max HE shell damage of 1600, 12 rounds a minute, and max AP damage of 2500, maximum firing range of 11.9 kilometers. And according to this website, he has 2 choices of torpedoes. One with a speed of 65 knots but a range of 4 kilometers, and one with a speed of 60 knots but a range of 8 kilometers, which is what I imagine he is using here. And then maximum speed of 38 knots. Now, unfortunately, this website doesn't seem to give me things like rudder shift time or detection ranges or anything like that, but I did notice on the forum when I was looking for these stats, someone did say that without a level 5 captain and the concealment expert perk that comes at level 5, you apparently can't really stealth fire this thing. Again, I'm not entirely sure if it's true. That's just what I found on the internet. But anyways, he is lurking around this channel, sort of unsure whether to push straight in, and it's easy to understand why, with a whole bunch of tier 7 and 8 cruisers on the enemy team, including a tier 6, which might just be even more dangerous than any of them to a destroyer with its really fast firing guns. And there we have 2 cruisers spotted, Cleveland at 13.9 and the York at 11, just under 11 kilometers now. There's also that Polish thing, the Lisvatica or something. I'm not even going to try. You got to remember, we South Africans, we're not used to seeing those letters all put together in in that order. But anyway, there's the Polish thing. So he's going to start taking some fire. You can see really nice reload rate on the guns, 5 seconds. Manages to get 2 hits, but only does 1,000 damage. And the Polish thing is sitting in its smoke cloud, but as it's going full speed, it's popping in and out of concealment and being spotted over and over again. But, I mean, the Polish destroyer is pretty screwed. There's 2 cruisers here with Nigel, and as we all know, if there's one thing cruisers excel at, is wrecking destroyers. So, I mean, I suppose it's an AOBA, so that one's not too dangerous. Although if those 8-inch guns hit, it will be very painful. So he's going to fire another spread of torpedoes, fire them blind into the smoke cloud. As you can see, the reload was about, what, minute 15 or so on the torpedoes. And it looks like, what's that, 2 triple launches, so you can put out 6 torpedoes at once, which is quite nice. And then decently fast and decently good range, and you imagine he can stealth torp with little to no issue. So the Mikhail Kutuzov, and what do you know, manages to land a torpedo hit and sink the Polish destroyer for his first kill of the match. And things are going quite well for his team so far. I mean, the enemy team has lost a destroyer and a cruiser, while all of Nigel's teammates remain, and they have 160 odd points advantage over the enemy team. Tirpitz lurking around on the other side of this little island, around about 11 kilometers out at this point. So now it looks like Nigel is going to make his move through the channel, and there is the Tirpitz Burlington firefighter. But there is also 2 cruisers in close proximity to him, so we do have to be quite careful. Cruisers behind Nigel are opening fire on the Tirpitz. Tirpitz is returning the favor just outside of torpedo range, and there is the York at 8.8. So kind of got to be a bit careful here. Don't really want to get spotted. And there's an Atlanta as well at 11.5. Being spotted by that would be very, very bad news with the very fast firing, what are they, 5-inch guns. So he's going to fire off a spread at the Tirpitz, but unfortunately I think he strays a little bit close and gets detected. Looked like the detection range was about 7 kilometers. Tirpitz is going to take a stab at him with its main battery and manages to land a good number of hits. It actually does about 3,000 damage or so, maybe a little bit more. Tirpitz seems to be sailing in a relatively straight line right now. Nigel has managed to break or get far enough away so he is no longer spotted, but things are going to be far from easy for him because they now know that there is a destroyer very close by, and of course it turned away, the Tirpitz turned away, and all of his torpedoes are going to miss. So it looks like he's going to start taking some high explosive shots at the Tirpitz, simply because, I mean, the York is behind the island, not going to be able to return fire. The Atlanta is probably out of range, 12 kilometers, so it depends on what Captain perks and that he's got, but I think standard, if you will, its firing range is about 11 kilometers, but either way, I think the Atlanta is probably more concerned with the Benson that's just behind him. And as you can see, as soon as he opened fire, he was spotted. So you will notice that later on in the match as well. It does seem to look like every time he fires, he gets spotted, and you don't really seem to be able to stealth fire this little destroyer. So York at 7.5 kilometers traveling away. Tirpitz at 8.4. Nigel is using his smoke generator to put down a smoke screen, and he looks like he's trying to move in to see if maybe he can get within range of the Tirpitz. But as he's put down the smoke screen, if the Tirpitz player has any brains at all, he'll immediately turn away from this area and won't come any closer. And that looks like it's exactly what he is doing. And unfortunately, both of these ships are kind of on the very edge of his torpedo range, traveling away from him. So if he fires, by the time they get there, and by the time they reach their maximum range, the torpedoes would have run out of juice completely. So he's just sitting here and just planning his next move. You can see the enemy's actually got a lot of ships on the left-hand side of the map in the 1 and 2 lines, but they don't seem to be pushing. Again, opens fire at 8.8 kilometers away from the enemy and is immediately detected. Does 1500 damage from 4 hits there. It's got to be very careful here. The Atlanta might also be able to put shots in on him soon, if it can't already. Another little bit of damage there. Just trying to hope and see if we can get some fires, because that's where the damage is going to come from. And of course, he can irritate this battleship driver. York manages to land some high explosive hits, sets him on fire and takes out his engine, but he immediately repairs it up and puts the fire out. Takes another hit from the York, which incapacitates one of his rear turrets for a little bit, but that'll be back up and running in less than 10 seconds now. So he's just moving away now, trying to get unspotted once again. And the York seems to have stopped firing at him, simply because I imagine we all know it's difficult to hit destroyers, especially at the longer ranges. Anything above 10, it becomes quite difficult. The shots going in on this Atlanta, who's on very low health, manages to hit for 500, and that could have finished him off, but are these shells going to? Yes, they are. Manages to land another 2 hits to finish off the Atlanta for a second kill of the match. And now he seems to be moving back towards the fleet in front of him to try and engage and get some more damage done. There is also a destroyer that's just popped up on his starboard side there. You can see it on the minimap. It looks like it's being engaged by one of Nigel's allied destroyers, and one of his allied cruisers has just moved within the cap circle. And I mean, the enemy team's really not done very well. 3 destroyers down, 2 cruisers, and all they've managed to sink is 1 cruiser on Nigel's team. Nagato looks like he's actually traveling towards us, so the distance is closing quite rapidly, and there are no cruisers between us and the tier 7 Japanese battleship. So he's just moving in. Battleship is now turning away and heading in the direction of his allies. The Allied destroyer that was attacking that enemy destroyer seems to have been sunk. So at least they've brought the numbers back slightly, but they are still down by 3 ships. Cleveland at 9 kilometers. Gonna take a... Is he gonna fire? I think he is. Yeah, and there he goes. He's gonna fire a set of torpedoes as the Cleveland is heading in his direction. He will be able to torpedo him, hopefully. Puts down his smoke, but unfortunately he's still detected because this Hatsuharu gets really, really close. I think it was on the other side of the smoke screen. So he's going to start putting some fire in, but unfortunately an ally is able to get the kill before his shots even land on target. He has been detected. Torpedoes going in, and amazingly, the Cleveland would have had the easiest job in the world to avoid those torpedoes, but sails straight into one of them. And Nigel is able to land his second torpedo hit, and that is his 3rd kill of the match. Shots going in on the Miyoko at just under 10 kilometers. Bit of lag there. For once, it's not my fault or my internet. And it looks like the Miyoko is potentially returning fire. So Nigel immediately begins some evasive maneuvers and has little trouble evading any of the incoming fire from the Japanese cruiser. Just trying to pick up his next target. The Nagato is still looking really nice and juicy. Shots coming in from York, and even though I don't think he saw them until last minute, because he was already maneuvering, he has no trouble avoiding those shots. So it looks like he's starting to make an attack run on the Nagato, and being within the capture zone, he has now started capturing it for his team once again. And torpedoes going in, not sure who launched those, possibly one of his cruisers that died, but they all run out of range long before they're getting anywhere close to the 2 battleships. So he's got the Tirpitz selected up right now, but imagine he's going to change that. There we go, selects up the Nagato. And just keeping an eye on the Miyoko, who is at least far enough away. Big hit going in on the Nagato from an allied battleship. Looks like it's North Carolina, possibly. And there come some torpedoes, which I think surprised Nigel as much as they've surprised me. And he just manages to avoid that, and actually looked like it clipped through his ship. Only thing left on the enemy team that can fire torpedoes is the Miyoko, who's quite far out, so I'm really surprised they had the range to get to where they did. Not sure who the Miyoko fired them at, but fantastic job, because he very nearly got Nigel. Shots in on the Nagato, is down to very low health, but unfortunately Nigel is not able to snag that kill. So turning around again, opening fire, he was spotted, but he will soon be unspotted, and he can move in and try his luck on the Tirpitz. So he's gotten to within 7.5 kilometers of the Tirpitz. He fires a salvo of torpedoes, but the Miyoko was selected, so he was completely ignoring the recommended aiming point for those torpedoes. I'm not sure if that was what actually happened, or if it was just a replay bug. But we'll just have to see how they do. Unfortunately, he does open fire with his gun, so the Tirpitz knows exactly where he is and turns away. Now, this is going to be a slightly difficult situation for Nigel to be in, because the Tirpitz is one... In fact, I think it is the fastest battleship in the game, and although the Anshan can do 38 knots, the Tirpitz can still do pretty much close to 31, just under 31, so closing distance further could be a slightly slower process than he'd like if the Tirpitz decides to continue to run directly away, but it's not. Interestingly enough, it's going kind of broadside onto him and everyone who's shooting at it, possibly because it wanted to get its guns on target to shoot at one of Nigel's allies on his starboard side, and that looks like it was exactly what he was doing. Fires off his shots, and he's immediately begun to turn around and head towards the map border, running straight away from Nigel and his Anshan. So Nigel's just going to keep firing and putting in the high explosive, slowly whittling away the Tirpitz's health. He was going directly head on straight at the Tirpitz, so he only had 2 guns that he could fire, but now he's given a bit more of a broadside and can fire all 4 of his guns. Tirpitz is down to less than 13,000 hit points. And someone on his team says that they should fire at the cruiser, who's weaker and puts out many more shells. Possibly true, but no one's really in a good position to fire at it. The battleships all seem quite far away. The friendly cruiser that is in B right now could possibly do it, but also taking out a battleship, a Tirpitz, is always a very good idea. It's down to 524 health, and Nigel is able to put 1 last shell in and finish off the German battleship. And that's his 4th kill of the match. And all that is remaining is the Miyoko at 13 kilometers on relatively low health, but once again a very fast ship, and if it does decide to run away, catching it's going to be a slightly slow process. So we'll just skip forward here and see if he is able to get to within a range to do anything. Right, so in the end it did turn out to be a victory. Nigel was able to get to within range of the enemy cruiser, but only really managed to fire off 1 salvo, and they missed, and the teammates finished him off. So not a bad little game, and not a bad first little look at the Tier 6 Anshan. Nigel earned himself a score of 288,000 credits, 2,853 experience, getting 100 target hits, 2 torpedo hits, 1 incapacitation, 4 kills, 1 fire, and caused flooding twice. And he completed the winner and torpedoes away mission, coming 2nd place on his team with a base XP of 1268, whereas the North Carolina came 1st place with a base XP of 1563, while the Tirpitz on the enemy team was on top with 945. As for the detailed results, 22,000 high explosive damage, 10,300 from fires, and another 16,000 from torpedo hits. So Nigel, thank you very much for sending in this gameplay of the Anshan, and I hope you guys enjoyed the first look at this little Chinese destroyer. But that is about it for this video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button down below and consider subscribing for more World of Warships, Armored Warfare, and a few other things that are thrown into the mix from time to time. But that's it from me. Thank you very much for stopping by. This is Predator 458 signing off, and I'll see you guys next time.